and welcome to another episode of our WisdomCon pre-interview sessions. We're going to be talking to Tania Castilho, and she will be introducing and talking about her presentation. Without further ado, let me read a bio of Tania, just so we can get to know a little bit more about her. So, Tania Castilho is an author. Her author name, TC Ayala, is the author of Impassioned Coaching, an isness mentoring project through which she facilitates compassionate breath, providing a safe space for the reunion of human and divine. Her passion is to share her own example of living in 100% surrender to the heart, with the mind at our service, in presence and simplicity. She is a fully realized divine human, experiencing absolute freedom from the inside out, inspired and passionate and grateful for each breath. That's so beautiful. Tania, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your work. Now, I know you talk about surrendering
hmm
and, the embodiment of that. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean? Why is it important to do that?
Well, it means really moving from fear to love and becoming that. So, because that's what we all ultimately are as facets of Source, experiencing ourselves as individualized facets. So, we see ourselves as separate facets, as people who have nothing to do with each other, but ultimately we are all that same source of love. And it's not the love that we usually talk about or that is sung about or so many poems have been written about. It's a completely different level of love. So basically, what I share and facilitate is coming into an inner safe space where there is peace and silence, so that from that space one can experience compassion, which in my feeling, in my knowingness, means really a complete acceptance of all things as they are, so that each part that has been experienced wherever in time and space and that eventually got caught up in the stories can approach this now moment and be integrated and be transmuted into that love. So that's how the fear is transformed in this now moment, by allowing the divine to become the human. Basically, we live, until we remember, we live in this illusion that we are just human and therefore limited, and therefore we cannot attain certain things and we cannot live in ease and grace and simplicity. And so we believe effort is necessary, and fear and survival, all of these things, until we realize, so something inside says, oh, wait a minute, there's something else. And then that inner wisdom starts showing itself and shining out. So, yeah, basically, that's what I do with the compassionate breath and with just being.
Hmm. Beautiful. And one of the things that I notice that is really hard, surprisingly, is having the conversation about what is love. It's so funny, but a
Yeah.
lot of us, like, we have no idea what that really means, because we are so programmed to believe what love
Mm.
is this idealistic romantic relationship,
Yeah.
and what happens with that is that we pull ourselves completely out of it, out of the concept
Mhm.
of love, into this idealism outside of us. So, one of the things that, I'm really passionate about is trying to understand how to explain in the best way and educate what love is. So, can you help us? Because I
Yeah.
think this is your purpose as well. What
Yeah.
is love? How can we express this? How do we
Actually,
explain
I
this?
have a book called Be Love Beyond Illusion,
Perfect.
which was first written in 2011-12 and then was, well, amplified with new chapters and so on, republished in 2018. And so instead of explaining it, I'll give a personal example, really, that can maybe show what it really is. So before in my life, I was always looking for love, just like we all are, looking for love somewhere out there, looking for someone to love me the way I thought being loved meant. So, what I was pre-programmed to understand love to be, and what I felt was missing. But at a certain moment, I started realizing that that emptiness inside, no matter how much I looked, no matter how much I searched, no matter how much I craved for it, it never fulfilled that emptiness. It was just like that black hole that never has, that nothing can fulfill. And of course, then I started my spiritual journey, and still I was seeking and seeking until one day, with the breath, with just coming into that stillness in the breath, with the lady with whom I experienced the compassionate breath firsthand, which was Norma Delaney, who passed away more or less a year ago. It was yesterday her anniversary. And that day that I first experienced this breath of collapsing into the safe space within, all of a sudden, out of the blue, I felt this falling in love. But there was a huge difference, because this falling in love, though it seemed similar to what I had sometimes felt when falling in love with another, was completely fulfilling. There was this certainty that this love was never going to go away, and that therefore nothing else was required. So that basically is the big shift, the big difference between us believing that love can be found somewhere out there, and it can be somewhere out there on earth or in the other planes. Like if we for instance pray to God, or invoke the ascended masters, or whatever other beings that we feel are so loving, but continuously seek for their love, and the only thing they are radiating and showing us is, you are this. So once we collapse into that, then a whole new journey begins. When I collapsed in that love, it doesn't mean it made it easier. It actually became much harder from then on, because everything that was unloved about me came forward and said, okay, so can you love me? And can you love me? And what about me? And am I acceptable? All of that journey of facing what we call the dark side then became intense.
Yeah, that is so perfect. That's perfectly explained. And and sometimes that journey where you start going into the dark, it begins to become very scary sometimes, because
Mm.
we have to kind of re-educate ourselves, or educate ourselves in the fact that yes, it is lovable, because we have these ideas that those parts are not lovable. And so many things outside of us in our society, culture, religion might be telling us, those things are maybe shameful or
Mm.
unacceptable. And so it's a process of re-education, really.
Yeah.
How do you think that we need to help our children understand? How can we help our children understand what love is, as parents, as guides, and as mentors to one another as well?
Well, I would say that first of all, allow them to understand that they are their own masters. Basically, that they are, how can I say this in a more tangible way? That they have a journey that is unique, and that is valuable and honorable, and that they have every single tool they need in their toolbox that they brought with them in this lifetime, that they have everything, and even when things get hard and tricky, that it's there, it's with them. And so basically not being attached to our children is one of the very most important things we can do for them. Because when we create relationships of dependence, so having them depend on us and us depending on them emotionally and whatever, economically, whatever, we are creating a separation from themselves because they will be always looking at us and we will be looking at and for them. So not being attached to them, so allowing them to experience their own free will and their own experiences, of course with some guidance and with some cues as to what might work and what might not work, or what might be the result of certain actions and thoughts and so on. And also um, respecting their points of view, so not being overpowering, not teaching how to be powerful over another, which is one of the great issues with mankind, is this
Right.
addiction to power over another. So I would say, not exerting power over and not being attached would be two very simple things that can provide them the space to find that love here and now inside of them. And of course, being that example, us ourselves.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so important. And it's so simple and something that we can definitely start, mindfully creating an environment of that in our families, and our relationships. So you talk about breath, and this is how you came into all,
Mm-hmm.
this awakening. So talk to us about the breath. How did you find this breath? What is this breath? How do we use this?
Well, actually, I started with Reiki and all sorts of different kinds of modalities, healing modalities, and meditation, and so on. But when I came across what this beautiful lady who was coined as the doctor of breath, Norma Delaney, she was sharing breath through compassion. And basically, it's very simple because it's not a technique. It is really just coming back to the naturalness of breath. So it's inhaling and exhaling naturally through the nose, like one does when one is healthy, and remaining in that space that the breath opens up. So when we bring our focus and our attention to the breath, which is happening in the body, what happens is that we bring all of our energies here and we bring them into this body, which is where we find that safe space that then can provide us with the clarity, the intuition, the wisdom, the love, all of those things. But if we are all over the place with our attention scattered, then it becomes elusive. Like we feel it only in small increments and then it goes away. So because the breath is permanent, we all breathe constantly. It is really becoming conscious of it and allowing the breath itself to provide an ample space of staying. So that's basically how it works. It's really, really simple. It actually is a mind blower because the mind can't conceive, wow, how can it be so simple?
Absolutely. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And so, you are going to be presenting at the conference, Experiencing the Divine Human. So, tell us a little bit about your presentation. What are you going to be talking about?
So I'll be sharing experiences of this big shift that happens when we really fully decide, okay, so I am really no longer gonna buy into the stories that I believed in as I grew up and that are within mass consciousness. I am gonna allow myself to discover what is coming from that sweet still voice within that many times doesn't even speak in language, but to discover something new. And so basically it's being constantly out of our comfort zone whilst being constantly in a comfort zone. So, how can I say this? So, if we're in the safe space here and now, allowing our essence, our soul, whichever way one would like to describe it, our divinity, to hold the human and to now provide a whole new level of experiences, if we allow that, we are constantly experiencing new. Why? Because we don't have a concept of these things. It's unknown and knowable only moment to moment, because we cannot also remain attached to what we know now. Otherwise, the new now will not be able to present itself because we will be attached to the old now. And so it's a constant letting go and a constant receiving, a constant being here and now, available to discover. Of course, this presents many challenges in day to day life, but the challenges are high class issues because life becomes such a simple flow of grace and beauty that it's easy to navigate those challenges for being in a different dimension, because basically you are then living in a different dimension, in a different frequency. It's easy if compared to what it used to be like before. And why would I like to share this? Because many times what people are afraid of is that jump, that final leap. Many are just there on the threshold, looking and trying to decide: do I jump? Or no, 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 I can't because it's unknown. Well, it's gonna be unknown all the time, and that is the beauty of it. And basically it's a shift. So that's what I would like to share about how it happens in everyday life, and how really there's nothing to be afraid of, because it's so beautiful and abundant and special, that it's what we've all been seeking for but couldn't find anywhere, because it's here, right here within us.
That's so beautiful, Tania. Thank you so much. Well, we are really truly honored to have you. You are amazing and such a beautiful soul. And I want to thank you so much for the incredible work that you do with all of the things that you're working. How can people connect with you? And do you offer these trainings for the breathing? How do you offer? What
Yeah.
offerings do you have?
So on my website, inpassioncoaching.com, there is a page which says In Passion Creations, and there people can find about the breath. So I offer sessions which I book randomly, and I also have created now something called the Enlightening Showers of Presence, which is a 3-month experience of being in the breath and living it. So basically, being able to witness the changes happening in our lives, and being able to share and express them with each other as well within the group. Because one of the things that people are very afraid of is of shining, is of radiating, is of being wise. There's a bit of a sort of a shame around that. And here in this experience, people are invited to share the miracles, the magic, which is then very normal. I mean, then there's nothing miraculous about it, because that's the normalcy of being a divine human. Being able to share that openly. And there are sometimes such simple things in everyday life. And then I also provide retreats, a lot of them within silence, because the whole thing is to be able to come into that silence where everything is provided. So the noise goes away, the silence sets in, and then we can deal with whatever needs to be dealt with within ourselves, and therefore transform our reality, because basically our reality is us happening out there, that we can see it and change whatever we'd like.
Absolutely. Wonderful. That's amazing. So please do check out Tania's work. I'm going to put the link down below so that you can connect with her and, learn about her wonderful work and offerings that she has. So, Tania, we are honored to have you. And please do subscribe, everyone. You can register for the event down below at wisdomcon.com and check out all of the other amazing speakers that we will be presenting as well. And thank you so much for being with us, Tania, today. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Geraldine. The honor is mine.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very, very much.
Thank you. So, everyone, please do connect, subscribe, and share and like this if you found some value.